Hello and welcome to the Sheriff's Roundup. I'm Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown, coming to you this time from the beautiful and historic La Purísima Mission Park located in Lompoc in North County. For this edition of the Roundup, we want to begin by introducing you to a very special team that is fulfilling an important need in our county. A large number of the calls that deputies respond to involve people suffering from mental health issues. These types of calls require a specialized response, and thanks to a new pilot program, that's exactly what they're getting. Here's Dr. Sherilyn Lee to explain how this new co-response team works.
CIT-1 is the code name that we have for the co-response team that the Sheriff's Office is currently piloting. The persons that are involved in the pilot project are Deputy James McCarroll and Bradley Crable, who is a mobile crisis worker from Behavioral Wellness. What their mission is to address mental health crises that come up in the community. And so they ride together, responding to the same call at the same time that's in the field.
So Bradley, she's filed reports about people breaking into her home and stealing her jewelry. So I'm going to take that approach. When I arrive on scene, regardless of why I'm there, I've already prepared myself for whatever this person does or whatever this person says. I'll use that to help this individual through the crisis they're going through. We can be people that they can speak to, people that they can rely on if they're having tough times and they just need to talk to somebody.
The benefit of having the co-response team is that when deputies arrive to the scene to assess the issue, the mobile crisis worker is there at the same time. So this allows the mobile crisis worker to evaluate the situation that's happening in the field in real time.
This is not how he presents at all. He's completely high or drunk, one out of the two.
So it benefits the community in that we're getting the right resource to the community member quicker, which is the kind of service that we want to be able to provide.
We have a ton of people in the community that have mental health issues. Our goal as a unit is to make contact with these people, see how we can help them, and get them the services that they need.
Her friends call her 007. I think she has a pretty substantial imagination. This is the kind of person that will call the station 20 times in a month asking for a deputy to come out. So we're trying to be proactive.
Sometimes there's no services available for certain people because it can be something related to dementia, Alzheimer's. Sometimes people's mental health issues, I believe, could be brought on by just being lonely.
This gate was open, and as you can see, it can be picked easily. There's multiple individuals.
Do you believe they're working together, or are they just, okay.
And this is a nationwide thing.
Patrol can't just respond to the scene, listen to what she's saying and clear, because if there's any inkling of truth in what she's saying, then they have an obligation to try and conduct some type of follow-up. So us being here, we can clearly make the determination that what she's telling us is not true. How's your mother doing? What we try to do is figure out what the root of that problem is, but we can't really help her until we can get her into some type of treatment.
So we have a mental health crisis. It's not unique to Santa Barbara, but in Santa Barbara County we're certainly experiencing it. Several decades ago there was a movement called deinstitutionalization. There were these big warehouses that were called treatment centers where persons with mental illness went to, and they weren't treated fairly, humanely. It wasn't a very ethical environment for them. Administrations in the past shut these centers down with the caveat that there would be more community centers opening for these folks to go and spend their time. The community centers never opened, and so the folks with severe and persistent mental illness had no other place to go. So law enforcement became the de facto sort of social workers because the folks with mental illness were out on the street, the community was having more problems with them. Also with the increase in certain drugs that we're seeing more of, including methamphetamine, that's a drug that not only allows somebody to be psychotic when they're high, but somebody can become permanently psychotic if they use enough of the drug over an extended period of time. Santa Barbara is the only county in California where law enforcement do not write 5150 holds. 5150 allows law enforcement to detain somebody in a mental health crisis for evaluation and treatment, and they don't necessarily need their consent to do it. At the time that this decision was made several decades ago, there were innovative programs in place where allied agencies worked together to ensure folks in crisis received what they needed. In the years following, the Santa Barbara population has grown without an associated increase in the number of treatment beds or services available. This innovative program I mentioned also no longer exists and hasn't for some time. So these issues have presented many challenges for law enforcement, behavioral health agencies, and our community. This is where co-response is a model that we at the Sheriff's Office feel assists in addressing these challenges head-on right now today, and that's what we've seen. So having the CIT1 team be able to arrive on scene together, you're addressing the need that law enforcement has and the responsibility that mobile crisis has to decide whether or not somebody should be involuntarily detained.
Bradley is a mobile crisis worker who's been doing this for, I believe, 14, 15 years. In my opinion, he's one of the best I've dealt with and seen. Unorthodox, but very effective. And at the end of the day, his goal is to make sure that people are treated right and they get the help that they need. And I've always said, give me the guy that's gone through it. That's the dude I want working next to me, because he's been there. And it goes a long ways with people when they know they're talking to someone who's been there. So yeah, Bradley has a history, but it makes him perfect for what we're doing out here.
What can I help you with today?
I need to go down and get this appointment.
Hey Nancy, are we taking you to the ER right now? Huh? We are. Okay, before you get in my vehicle, I'm gonna need to check your bag to make sure you don't have any weapons or anything in there. Okay, is that okay with you?
What we're finding is that mental health crises take 2 to 3 times as long to resolve than regular calls for service in the field. So what the co-response team does is, if they respond to a situation where patrol is already there, they will relieve the patrol deputy so they can go back into the field. So now CIT1, James and Bradley, are addressing the issue and the other patrol units are back out fighting crime. The benefit of having them together also is that they're developing relationships with the most vulnerable folks in our community, and that can prevent future crises. So we're also looking at engaging the CIT team to do preventative work.
ER.
Yeah.
So this team is able to do that, and in turn, we're hoping that what it shows is that there are less mental health crises coming through 911 because more people are engaged in treatment and more people feel supported. What's happening now with CIT1, they have more time to spend not only in the field with a person in crisis, but to provide that warm handoff to our colleagues at the emergency department. So what they'll do is they'll call the hospital ahead of time and they'll let them know that they're bringing somebody in, here's what they saw in the field, here's their symptomology, so that the emergency department at Cottage is prepared to take this individual on. So it's really allowing for better continuity of care between entities. This team is following up on people who have been recently released from psychiatric hold, so from 5150s. If that person who was just released from the hospital is not following up with their appointments and is known to the team is checking on them. And most people with mental illnesses do not commit violence, but there are some that do, and there are some that have in our community.
So basically we have a mentally disturbed young man that wrote kind of his accounts of things that are going on in his life, and also expressing his displeasure with his roommates. I would say he's a threat to him. He's a threat to the public, and that's one of the reasons he's been on a hold. We're going to go contact this individual, test his temperature, and let him know that because he's going to be released from the mental health facility doesn't mean that no one's going to be paying attention to him. Just basic threat assessment that we'll be doing, making sure that the community is safe.
So what this team can do now is follow up on those folks and report anything that needs to be reported. So we have another set of eyes on these folks.
In my career, I've had multiple calls that I'll never forget. But the one that really, really gets me when I think about it is I had a young lady contact me, and she contacts me because her boyfriend is suicidal. He tells us that his plans of taking pills and swimming out to their islands didn't work out so well because it was cold and he didn't bank on it being so cold. The subject went voluntarily for a mental health evaluation. All was good. I wrote a basic report up on it because of the concerns expressed by the girlfriend. and I went home on my days off. Well, he decided that it would be a good idea to not only take his life, but take his girlfriend's life. So naturally, having that mindset and being out here on the job, I gravitate towards helping people and dealing with people who are in crisis. That's the story of why I'm so passionate about what me and Bradley are doing out here.
This team really is developing a new lens for looking at folks in crisis, and they're really receptive to that sort of training. You know, we've heard also great reports from deputies that they work with. They're noticing the change, and they feel calm and confident and comfortable when this team arrives to a scene and can take it over for them. We don't want to hold somebody involuntarily unless that's the absolute last option. So we're providing this person with more options, which is a great service to the community.
It's very rewarding when you can take a person who's been in crisis and get them the help that they need, because a lot of them may not even realize they need help, and for those who do, sometimes they don't know what resources are out there to help them, and I enjoy doing it. It brings me great joy. I know it brings Bradley great joy too.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, and thank you, James and Bradley, for your compassion and your expertise. You're doing a fine job. As great as this pilot project is, it has no permanent funding as of yet. The Sheriff's Office and our county's Behavioral Wellness Department are actively pursuing grants and looking for other funding sources. Another team that is making a difference in Santa Barbara County is our Cannabis Compliance Team. This team has been hard at work identifying and investigating illegal marijuana cultivation sites within the county. As Lieutenant Greg Sanders explains, the goal of the team is to stop the illegal cultivation and distribution of marijuana and to prevent other crimes associated with these grows.
Today we're out on an illegal grow in the county area, and I would like to go over exactly what the Cannabis Compliance Team does for the County of Santa Barbara and our mission. In November of 2016, the voters of California passed Proposition 64, which allowed for the recreational use of cannabis for people over the age of 21. Following this move, Santa Barbara County mapped out a process to authorize the commercial cultivation of cannabis in the county and developed comprehensive regulations and guidelines to conform with state law and ensure the growth and distribution of a safe consumer product. Ultimately, a pathway was developed for responsible cannabis industry businesses to operate within our county. Due to our inviting weather and accommodating landscapes, the county of Santa Barbara has become a desired area for cannabis cultivators. To deal with the surge of the cannabis pioneers, the county identified a way for allowing the state to issue temporary permits to growers as a first step in the permanent licensing status. Additionally, the county authorized the creation of the Cannabis Compliance Team, which is a collaborative effort not only between the Sheriff's Office, but other facets of the county and state government entities such as Planning and Development, Public Health, Public Works, the Ag Commissioner's Office, the District Attorney's Office, state agencies such as the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and the State Bureau of Cannabis Control are also involved. The primary responsibility for the county's Cannabis Compliance Team is to work with these state bureaucracies and the stakeholders who desire to grow cannabis legally and to ensure the county's ordinances and state laws are adhered to. The team will also conduct compliance checks to ensure the growers are abiding by the county ordinances. Additionally, the growers will be required to pay a licensing fee and county and state taxes based off their sales, just like any other ordinary business. Part of the tax money collected will fund the Cannabis Compliance Team. The goal of the Cannabis Compliance Team is to weed out, no pun intended, those individuals that are growing cannabis or selling cannabis products illegally. To date, the Cannabis Compliance Team has investigated over 23 illegal cultivation sites and eradicated about 1 million marijuana plants. Within these illegal grows, we have discovered environmental crimes that are over and above simply growing cannabis. People are stealing water, redirecting natural streams, using hazardous chemicals, and leaving extensive trash and debris at the grow sites. We continue to do enforcement in the national forest areas within our county where some of these growers are. And so by funding this team, it allows us to be much more effective in the enforcement of illegal cultivation. Throughout the years, we have received numerous complaints over the strong odor of cannabis cultivation and also the suspicious activity that takes place on these grow sites. It has been difficult to investigate, but with the ordinance and state laws, we can now go out and do these enforcements. One thing about the ordinance, there are requirements for odor mitigation of permanently licensed businesses in the coastal zones. So we should be seeing a lowering of cannabis odor complaints throughout the South County. If people do not comply with odor mitigation, then they run the risk of losing their license. Again, this only applies to sites with permanent state licenses. Until they are permanently licensed, the odor abatement requirement cannot be enforced. For anyone who is negatively impacted by cannabis cultivation, or if they feel that there is suspicious activity going on a property, we encourage them to contact the Sheriff's Department so the cannabis compliance team can look into your suspicions and possibly take enforcement action.
The Sheriff's Office wants to remind our community members that Santa Barbara County has developed a county ordinance that provides a path to legally cultivate marijuana within the county. To report suspected illegal marijuana cultivation, you can call our Sheriff's Anonymous Tip Line at 805-681-4171 or go to our website at www.sbsheriff.org. It's hard to believe that a year has passed since we lost 23 Montecito residents in the terrible 1/9 debris flow, 2 of whose remains are still missing. On the 1-year anniversary of this tragic event, a candlelight vigil was held to honor the victims. The touching ceremony was followed by a community walk from Lower Manning Park down San Isidro Road to All Saints by the Sea. Despite the enduring sadness that will remain forever for the lives that were lost, it felt good for the community to be together on this special and somber occasion. We still have to be ready and prepared for the potential for another debris flow. Every time a storm is predicted to have rainfall amounts potentially high enough to cause a debris flow, an evacuation order must be issued for the high-risk areas. When this happens, deputies and search and rescue team members go door to door to notify residents that it is time to leave. As always, we appreciate your cooperation as we take every effort to ensure your safety. For the next several years, people who live in the red zones below the Sherpa, Whittier, and Thomas Fire burn scars should be prepared to evacuate a few times each year, probably just for a day or two. We know having to have you leave your home is inconvenient, but it could be life-saving. If nothing happens, we'll get you back home as soon as possible. Also, it goes without saying that regardless of where you live, an emergency can happen at any time, and every Santa Barbara County resident needs to be signed up for Aware and Prepare alerts. Remember, if we can't reach you, we can't alert you. To sign up, go to www.readysbc.org. On December 28th, residents in a neighborhood in Orchid were alerted and told to shelter in place following a horrific incident. David McNabb, who had previously worked as a custody deputy, had brutally murdered his sister, Nicole McNabb, his mother, Melanie McNabb, and her friend, Carlos Echeverria, in their home. When deputies arrived, they confronted the suspect, who was armed with a rifle. After negotiating with him unsuccessfully, the sheriff's special enforcement team was called in and used less lethal means in an attempt to disarm the suspect. When he remained a threat, he was shot and fatally injured. These types of incidents are not only tragic, but are incredibly dangerous for law enforcement. It's important that deputies prepare for how to handle these types of scenarios. Recently, deputies participated in an interactive training session where they practiced making split-second decisions in a very stressful environment.
Your victim has bubbles coming from the right side of her chest. What kind of injury do you think she has? Okay, how are you going to treat that?
Left hand.
Left hand, thank you. Cool, end scenario, hold her up.
What we've been able to do for the first time, put a group of people or a single person through a scenario, record it, and then be able to almost frame by frame analyze what they're doing and talk about the concepts that we're trying to drive home, and then fine-tune things that we otherwise probably wouldn't be able to see just due to the nature of how fast a lot of these events unfold.
Thank you to the Sheriff's Training Bureau for building training scenarios based on real-life situations which better prepare our deputies for what they could encounter on the streets. A group of Santa Barbara County residents now know more about what goes on in keeping them safe after participating in the Isla Vista Sheriff's Citizens Academy. 14 people, aged 17 to 83, from all walks of life, took part in a condensed 5-week academy where they got a hands-on, behind-the-scenes look at many aspects of the Sheriff's Office. Just some of the experiences including learning about our agency's history and breadth of responsibility, how deputies train to respond during crisis situations, and how the Sheriff's bomb team and canine units handle their unique public safety roles. For many, it was hard to decide what class they enjoyed the most.
I walked away with an immense appreciation for how dangerous their job is and how important their job is. And something that, I don't think I could personally do, and so I'm really grateful that someone else is able to do it with the professionalism that they have.
I'm actually really happy and glad that I got to do this, and I do recommend other people that are interested of becoming a first responder or becoming a deputy or a police officer to take the opportunity and see what it is hands-on before you join the academy.
People running out, having that discretion not to accidentally shoot them?
We did have some...
Did anybody shoot somebody running out?
Yeah, we did.
I think I shot the cameraman.
Yeah.
This is a great class, great program, and anyone who is interested in law enforcement should definitely apply, and just anyone in general too, so they understand more of law enforcement and appreciate them more, because nobody appreciates how much they have to put their lives in risk for everyone.
All of the participants walked away with a deeper appreciation for law enforcement, and for some, the experience sparked or confirmed their interest in a law enforcement career. While the Sheriff's Office puts on several Citizens Academies throughout the year, this was the first one designed specifically for people affiliated with Isla Vista. The South County Citizens Academy is currently underway, and we will be holding another North County Citizens Academy soon. We look forward to introducing you to the current class on the next Sheriff's Roundup. One of the most rewarding parts about a career in public safety is the difference you can make in the lives of others. In some cases, you can even help save a life. Recently, a group of first responders were honored at the Cardiac Arrest Survivors Celebration. A Santa Barbara man had the opportunity to publicly thank those who were involved in his rescue. He was on a 55-mile bike ride last year with friends when he suffered a heart attack. Sheriff's Dispatch Supervisor Carrie Sloan provided pre-arrival emergency medical dispatch instructions. One of the victim's fellow riders was CPR trained and was able to provide life-saving efforts until paramedics arrived and took over. Thanks to our outstanding dispatchers and emergency medical personnel, Santa Barbara County exceeds the national average for cardiac arrest survival rates. We cannot stress enough the value of CPR training. If you're interested in becoming CPR certified, please go to www.countyofsb.org/phd/EMS. We're so fortunate to have a wonderful team of volunteers who for years have been making a positive difference in the lives of inmates at our Santa Barbara County Jail. This big-hearted group was honored recently at a jail volunteer appreciation dinner. For the first time ever, the Chuck McLean Memorial Award was given to 2 outstanding volunteers. Charles Alexander was recognized for being the longest-running Alcoholics Anonymous volunteer at the jail. He has brought the AA program to inmates for the past 20 years. Kelly Newton also received the Chuck McLean Memorial Award. For the past decade, Kelly has helped those inmates who have drug addiction problems by coordinating the Narcotics Anonymous panel at the jail. These awards are especially sentimental for us because they were given in honor of Chuck McLean, a respected and beloved longtime former drug and alcohol counselor, supervisor, and manager for the Sheriff's Treatment Program. Chuck will always be remembered for the profound impact he had on the lives of thousands of inmates at the Santa Barbara County Jail and on those of us who were fortunate enough to work with him. The Volunteer Chaplain of the Year award went to Catherine Alexander, who has been counseling inmates at the jail for the past 15 years. Another person who's having a positive impact at the jail is Luis Espinoza, who has been recently promoted to custody sergeant. Thank you, Sergeant Espinoza, for the great job that you're doing, and congratulations on your promotion. The Sheriff's Office is pleased to have some more new faces on our team. We recently welcomed Administrative Office Professional Juan Luis Sanchez, Financial Office Professional Alexis Rodenberger, and Legal Office Professional Dylan Brown. We also hired Hector Calderon as our new storekeeper, Maria de Jesus Rodriguez as our new institutions cook, and Luis Areola as a new Sheriff's Service Technician. The Sheriff's Office is always looking for people who want to make a difference to join our team. If you are interested in a rewarding career with the Sheriff's Office, go to our website at www.sbsheriff.org and click on the Join Us section. Speaking of rewarding careers, after 6 years of service to the Sheriff's Office, K9 Akko officially retired on New Year's Eve just before midnight. It was a sentimental moment for all of us here at the Sheriff's Office as we heard his final sign-off over the air.
Control 30, K9 1.
K9 1.
You can now change my call sign to 39 Excellent. My partner is retired.
During his amazing career, Akko and his handler, Senior Deputy Rushing, tirelessly covered the county, tracking down hundreds of criminals. As Senior Deputy Rushing shows us, these two always had each other's back.
I wanted to make the K9 unit the most valuable resource out here. This day and age, law enforcement's become very dangerous and unpredictable, and when you have a dog that's able to prevent a lot of incidences just by his presence, that's my goal. So if you listen to him, he kind of understands what we do as law enforcement. Let's see if we can get him quiet. Hey, come here, Akko. Akko. Say hi. Just check you out. Good boy. See how he's hunting? He's always looking. The bond is something that you develop over time. Once you develop that bond with them and that personality is understood, then you can work with them and they're willing to do everything for you. Out in the middle of nowhere, contacting 5 people. I felt confident doing that because I knew he was there. I knew he had my back. If you tell me that somebody was hiding in the bushes that just committed a violent felony or was possibly armed, that's where Akko and I do our best work, searching for those people. Hey, bad guy, we know you're in there. Come out. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Hey, fuss! Fuss! Oh, scoots. That guy stand still. Ouse. 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 Oh, yeah. We work 4 days a week. I'm with this guy more than I'm with my family, so. And when you're passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work. It just, and the time just starts clicking by and you don't realize that, you know, you turn around and your dog's 9 years old and you're going, whoa, where did all that time go? I'm gonna miss it, but I'm here for our handlers. I'm always a phone call away, and I would love to share my information and get out and help them make their dogs the best dogs they can have. So.
Thank you, Akko, for giving your service life to help protect the public and your fellow partners on patrol. We certainly hope you are enjoying the chance to put your paws up. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Sheriff's Roundup. Thanks for watching, and thanks for supporting us as we protect your safety.